Closer and closer comes the artist's hand to a canvas covered in red. She's having thoughts of him, and she paints a picture of a pale blue heart with flowers in the veins. They blossom in his cold. Does anybody ever get you right? Does anybody ever win your fight? I don't know. How could I ever know? So come out of the darkness, come out where the lights can see your face, come back from the heartless, collect your flowers from the shade. My love, you know I love you like the stars, and gravity can only pull you away so far. So don't you tell me you don't miss the sun. Yeah. Caged and collided, but she confided in every shade of him each day. He felt alright. Yellow pale brown eyes, and her flowers blossomed in his cold dark room where nothing ever grew. They felt the sun. But does anybody ever get this right? Does anybody ever win your fight? I don't know. How could I ever know? So come out of the darkness, come out where the lights can see your face, come back from the heartless, collect your flowers from the shade. My love, you know I love you like the stars, and gravity can only pull you away so far. So don't you tell me you don't miss the sign. Where how does it feel when you came out of the darkness and held those flowers in your hands? And tell me, yes, won't you tell me? Don't you know you're never really alone? You're coming home. Yes, you're coming home. And you're not alone. No, you're not alone.
Well, we're back. Hello. Thank you, Brady Shaw, Uncle Joe's son. And here we are. We're back here again. I think I see Jennifer, and she said hi to Yvonne, so I'm guessing she's here. Hello, Yvonne and Dave Jagger. Thank you for giving us a thumbs up. So we're back again. I guess it's the same old thing. Same old story. So nothing really planned. I guess if someone wants to come up and talk about the news of the day, that's I guess that's what we're here for. So let me do a little housekeeping and get the link posted up there for anyone who would like to pop on. And we will get the party started. Day up here. Nice, beautiful, sunny kind of day, spring day. A real nice day up here in Crescent City. Haven't got a whole lot done. Oh, Janice Murray. Janice Murray. That is correct. I called that Rock Candy Mountain. It was on Highway 10. And I don't think it's there anymore. Joe Shaw, you're back with your camera working.
Oh, good. I just wanted to come on and see if my camera was working. I had no way to test it.
What do you think was wrong?
I don't know. I did what Jennifer said. I unplugged the camera, plugged it back in, and restarted the computer. So I guess that's all it needed, a reboot.
That's it sometimes. There's a program you can download. It's I'll let you know what it is. It's a free program, but what you can do is test out your camera and check out your lighting and get that all set up. I'll send that link to you for that, but it's a nice free program where you can, just watch or take videos or whatever you want to do, but you're not online, but it gives you a chance to preview the situation.
Cool. I need to learn more about it.
Yeah, it's fun to play around with it. Actually, I remember it's called AMCAP, AMCAP. And it's a free program. Just download it, and then it connects to your camera and microphone and lets you make adjustments to them, take videos, kind of get a feel for the for your studio. So what's going on today, Joe?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing much.
Did a little shopping. Had a can you see that?
Watch.
No. There it is.
The tattoo?
No, I had a pen leak in my pocket. You ever have that happen? And you're not aware of it until you feel this wet ink on your chest. And by the time you do that, you've rubbed your arm against the ink for an hour. And then you end up with that don't come off.
It looks kind of like a hipster tattoo.
Well, it'll come off when I find some acetone or something. Yeah, I've ruined a lot of shirts that way. It's my thing. It's what I do. I ruin shirts with ink pens.
Did
It's
you do a
one
little?
of my hobbies.
I like you got the blue and the purple going on in your background. The dark leather chair.
Yeah, I wish you could see out the window, but
No, we can't.
there's a little more color because it's all green back there. But the lighting don't do it. Yeah, that chair. That's actually my bed. That's where I sleep.
Are you like Uncle Danny? You sleep in a chair all the time?
I don't know why that happens, but once you get used to it, you can't go back.
Does it face a TV?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. It makes me. Okay, I got you. What you been watching lately? Anything good?
Watching.
Yeah.
Caught up in Hollywood. Series
Okay.
on Netflix called Hollywood. It's pretty good.
Pretty good. I started watching it and I don't know. This was a little bit I don't know. It didn't grab me. But well.
Yeah, there's a lot of gay guys in it, but the acting is really good. And I don't know. I like the old those old sets from the 40s and the cars, and I appreciate that kind of thing.
Now is it trying to be historical, that movie? Was there really a gas station that was a kind of a, I guess
it seems to be about 50% because they'll have real characters in there, and then they'll have fictional characters, supposedly famous stars that you never heard of, and then there'll be like Vivian Leigh and Rock Hudson, and so some of them are real characters, and a lot of it's made up. So it's like that. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the same way. It was like half fiction, half real.
Okay, well, here we got someone else comes up, wants to pop in and say hello.
Jennifer. Jennifer.
Jennifer, you got to turn off other Facebook.
So
I did.
You're good. You're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that John and I was watching a documentaries, and there was actually a guy named Scotty in Hollywood that had a gas station exactly like that. So they took it part fiction, part truth, but a lot of the Hollywood stars went there.
Second, Brady. Hey, Pat, mute me out for a second.
Okay, Joe, you're muted.
Okay, that was called. It was a documentary called Scotty's, and it was a real life person that
Oh, okay.
actually had a gas station in Hollywood.
Where where movie star actresses would go in and get filled up, so to speak.
It was the gay guys, the lesbian women that couldn't go out and get any kind of. They didn't want any of the news people following them, so they went to the gas station, and just like it's portrayed in the movie, the people they wanted would just get in the car and they go someplace. But that was going on for years. He was a pretty Dan Runyon character. I think he is still alive, actually.
Who's Dan Runyon?
Dan Runyon is anything that's kind of off the wall.
Oh, okay.
I think Uncle Joe would know.
Is that just a saying, Dan Runyon?
Well, wasn't there a real man named, when you say a Dan Runyon character, Joe? Wasn't that a real person?
I've never heard that term.
Oh my God, I've heard it for years. I'll have to research it and see.
And I'll bet I'd start hearing it all the time now.
Probably. But I was telling Patrick there was really a documentary about Scotty's gas station that was a true story, and I think he's still alive. But he handled all the Hollywood stars just like they portrayed in the movie.
Oh, so that was based on
A true story, yes.
well, it seems like something that would exist in Hollywood.
Well, they couldn't have sex any other way because of the studios and journalists following them and media, and they had to just do it secretly underground, and Scotty supplied the place to do it. Pretty interesting documentary. I think it was on Netflix.
What are you doing today, Jen?
Oh, I'm just kind of hanging out. I've got dinner ready and walked the dog this morning and took a little nap. And I've been up since about 4:30, 5 o'clock. I get up early.
Now, what is your average dinner? Do you go out, or is it like sandwiches, or?
No, I change it all the time.
Hi.
2 or 3 times, sis. 2 or 3 times a week, I'll make a really good dinner, salmon and all the trimmings, or I'll do a rack of lamb, or and the other times I'll do a chili verde burrito. Tonight we're having homemade hamburgers and French fries. I mix it up a little bit. Sometimes I'll do a chicken piccata, and then I'll do a open face sandwich or a tuna melt, and just kind of move it back and forth. We don't have like a 4-course meal every night, but I mean, that's my outlet, is just to cook. I have nothing else to do. So that's what I do.
Sis, I saw you come in and leave, but I could hear you.
I could hear you, sis. Get back up here. Uncle Joe, I like your idea of doing the UFO show.
That's more Patrick's idea, but it's a good idea. I'm up to it.
I think if you just took 2 of the really good videos of the military and pilots that have seen these and show those videos, and they go into a lot of what they saw, I mean, they would be more credible than anybody else that just comes out with a YouTube video and go with the military.
Yeah, and I've seen a video where they interviewed 2 of those pilots, and that even made it more interesting.
Well, I was watching the Inquirer special last night on CNN, and they put out an article that was basically true, that Jimmy Carter and his administration admitted that he had seen a UFO. That might be something to get into.
Jimmy Carter did, and Ronald Reagan did.
Oh, I didn't know Ronald Reagan did.
Ronald Reagan saw one when he was governor of California, and he was flying to Hollywood, and it was right over Bakersfield. And he saw one. that he said he could not explain. Whatever it was. But yeah, Jimmy Carter.
Where exactly is Area 51? Is that Arizona or is that Utah?
Area what? 51?
51.
Nevada.
Nevada. Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. They would see a lot of UFOs around Bacon in that area. If 51, we just don't know.
Yeah, there's one guy, Charles, I can't remember his last name. He's an old guy, but he's written a couple of books about when he was stationed in the military in Nevada back in the 60s and his encounter with UFOs there. Interesting stuff.
Hey, sis.
Hi, Patrick. I can hear you.
Can you hear everyone else?
I don't know. Say something, Jennifer.
I can hear you just fine, sis.
Can't hear Jennifer. Say something, Joe.
Hello.
Nope.
Hello.
Can't hear Joe. Can't hear Jennifer. Can only hear you.
Okay,
That's
I can relay.
weird.
That's weird, Jennifer says.
I know. It's weird. So
Well,
I
just
don't want to
do
interrupt
like
you
I-
guys are
oh,
in the
she
middle of
can't-
conversation.
she can't hear
but
me.
I was just on the news where Trump is taking hydroxychloroquine. What do you guys think of that? And do you really believe he's taking it?
I don't
it's
really
bullshit.
believe
I think he's just trying to get other people to take it. I wish I could
I
hear what you
believe-
have to say, Jennifer. You don't think he's taking it? No, I don't either. I think he's just saying he's taking it to get everybody else to do it.
Well, Patrick tells us that I think he probably has either
Right.
one of his cronies or his children or somebody that
Too
has some
frustrating. I
kind
just
of
have to go join the chat.
some kind of money payoff in there that they own part of it.
Jennifer thinks that one of his cronies might have own part of the I don't know, own part of the that drug company maybe. I don't know.
I thought he did. I thought he had stock in it.
I heard that his family had stock in it and some drug
Oh, I
company.
can't
in
stand
France
here
that
and have a
makes-
conversation when I can't hear you. Now I know how poop feels.
Patrick tells us to unplug her camera and plug it
Bye.
back in.
Yeah, unplug everything, sis, and then come back in. Try that. Hey, Donnie, how you doing?
So this is the book I just started reading today.
Yeah. Consciousness Beyond Life.
Consciousness Beyond Life, The Science of the Near-Death Experience, written by a doctor. We'll let you know if it was interesting or not.
Okay. Have you thought more about doing a YouTube show with me?
Heck yeah.
Okay, well, when do you want to do it? We just do it. Pick a time, pick a topic, we'll put it together and do it.
Well, I'll do it. Within 24 hours, I'll let you know.
Perfect.
Okay,
Pat.
now,
Everybody
I've
will
got-
support you.
yeah, I think what we need to do then is get people to get a YouTube, subscribe to YouTube, so
Right.
they can get on and comment, and then once we get 1,000 subscribers, we can start monetizing it. I think pretty easy.
Can we practice on this show first?
Sure.
Sure.
Sahara yesterday I was looking at her post and she said she's had a lot of ghost experiences with spirits. That's not
Yeah, I
really
think-
the near-death experience, but it's kind of in the same realm.
Well, if you're talking about ghosts, I think a lot more people have had experience with that than they have UFOs or near death. In fact, I think spirits is a common experience, and probably like everything else, most of those experiences have earthly explanation, but there's so many, and some of them are so far out there you cannot assign an earthly explanation. For example, Susie's experience,
Right.
my sister Joyce's experience.
She saw Mother Teresa, Janice said.
Something like that.
Wow. I'd like to get that story if we could. I could call her tomorrow morning and ask her, but you could practice one of those on this show, Joe, before you go to the YouTube and just see the response you get. I think you'll get a good response.
Yeah, I think everybody has a story,
Yeah, they do.
and everybody's got a different way of looking at that.
So do you believe it would come out through a dream, or do you believe like Susie when she was wide awake and it was just right there in Larry's kitchen?
Do I believe it's would say
Spirits can come through dreams, or do you believe more like Susie's experience with Larry's mother when it was the middle of the afternoon, she was wide awake in her kitchen?
well, it can be both.
That's what I thought.
And
Want me to tell you about Mother Teresa?
Oh yeah, do please, Janice.
Yeah, this was when she lived by me in Orange County, and when she was married to Bob, and as soon as she married him, he became very sick and had pancreatic cancer, and she spent, I think maybe she was married to him for a year and a half, and her whole time was spent nursing him and in and out of hospitals. But anyway, right after he died, she went to bed and she went to sleep, but she woke up and Mother Teresa was standing in the hallway right outside her bedroom. And she said, I thought, well, now this can't be a dream. So I'm going to get up and go to the bathroom and drink water, just like Susie did when her mother-in-law appeared. And anyway, she said it was just as real. She knows it's real. And it was kind of like she was telling her, don't worry about Bob.
How did she know it was Mother Teresa?
Well, it would look just like her, Mother Teresa that you see the pictures of all the time. And she said it was her. Absolutely, it was her. She had a drink of water. She went into the kitchen. She turned on the light. And she absolutely, it was there. I don't know how many minutes, but she'll swear to it that, and she's like, Susie, you have to believe her. Is that real? Yeah. And
yeah, exactly.
We all have a lot of those stories. I've never had anyone appear to me, but oh my gosh, the things I've had happen to me spiritually. I mean, we've all had, I've had several things happen to me, which are unbelievable, but there's a lot of those stories.
Well, I'll make sure if we do this one on this, Joe, I'll get Aunt Carol up there. She has stories too.
Oh, I know. I talked to her today, but she's so busy. I said, we'd love to have you on the show, but anyway, that would be interesting about psychic people, the true psychic people. That would be a great show.
Well, that kind of goes hand in hand with the.
Well, I was thinking UFO was a totally different realm. It would either be UFO or spiritual / psychic. I don't know. What does Joe think? Think it's in the same category?
no, well, yes and no. It's in the same category in as much as they're unexplainable. And they're an experience you can't explain, that don't have any logic behind them. But the thing that they have in common is that you can prove they exist, but you cannot prove they don't. So that's an advantage of believers of anything. Believing in anything, no matter how far out it is, there's the possibility that one day you can prove it exists, but nobody will ever prove it don't. You'll never prove extraterrestrials or ghosts or God or life after death. You will never prove it don't exist. However, one day those could be proven to exist.
Interesting
point.
Sis, can you hear us?
No, just
Sis, can you hear?
Okay, I'm gonna leave. Okay,
you're coming in and out.
Can you hear me?
Jennifer, your picture was very blurry.
Weird.
But it's
I
cleared
cannot
up now.
Can you hear me, sis?
No, I can.
Okay, I'll go out and come in again.
No, wait.
No.
Now I hear you, Jennifer.
You're fine.
Shoot.
Sis is talking very.
Somebody else talk.
Yours is very softly. You're
Can't
very
hear
soft.
Janice.
Can't hear Janice.
I can hear you, Patrick.
Could you hear
Speak up.
Uncle Joe?
Speak up.
Can you
Joe.
hear me? Hello?
Nope.
No?
So frustrating.
That's probably a program. If you can hear one person but not the other, because I hear everybody, it's not on your end. It's probably a glitch in the program, I'm guessing.
Well, you know what? I started tapping on the face of my phone, and when I
Yeah.
tapped on it, then Jennifer came in and out like. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Program, I'm guessing.
You know what? I started tapping on the face of my phone.
Okay, Jennifer, Facebook is still on.
And
Sis, are you on Google? Because I have to be on Google in order to come in on that link.
no, but I can hear you now.
Okay. Maybe you need to try and put Google as your browser.
And go into.
Because that happened to me before when I was having trouble with the mic. I had to go back to Google browser.
And you go in StreamYard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
All right.
you use Chrome, Google Chrome. I think there's other
Yeah,
versions of Google.
But if it's working now, you did something right.
Well, I think unless I can't hear Joe. Joe, speak up.
Hello?
No,
No?
I can't hear Joe. I can hear you and Patrick, but I can't hear Joe.
That's strange.
That's an unusual problem.
Yeah, I'll go
I'll
out.
relay anything. I'll relay anything Joe has to tell you, though.
So is
Did I
that
interrupt a
picture
conversation?
behind you?
Janice went off.
I want to take a guess what that picture is.
Yes, sir.
Cement Mountain in Colton?
That's what I thought too, Joe.
Yes, it is. I called it Rock Candy Mountain, or you told me that one. That
No,
was Rock Candy.
We
Is
always,
that
Sure,
called
it's gone.
we always called it Cement Mountain, and part of it's still there.
It's
Really?
still, are they still taking cement from it?
Very little, but they are.
Yeah, I remember when I was a little kid, it was half gone.
I imagine there's a lot of concrete in Southern California that came from there.
Oh, I'm sure. Susie and I will go by sometimes when we go take the freeway. She'll go that back way past. What was that big park with the boats?
Fairmont,
What was it, Joe?
Fairmont Park.
Yeah, it's still there.
The lake and everything is there. There was a plunge there we used to go to too.
I'm not sure if the plunge is still there. Susie would probably know if she's on.
I haven't seen Susie. I don't know.
Okay.
What's going on, anybody?
Well, I have a couple of interesting science trivias for you, if you're interested.
What you got, Joe?
Because I spent a whole 5 minutes on Google today. Did you know that the average person in their lifetime walks equivalent to around the world 5 times? And did you know that all
What did you say?
the planets
Okay.
in the solar system spin the same way except one?
Uranus, I
Which
think.
one it is?
I think it's Uranus.
Your anus.
No, it's Venus.
Oh,
Venus is the only planet that spins.
Okay,
Well, that makes
hold on, Joe. I'm going to relay this as this. What Joe said, he gave us 2 trivia facts, Sid. He said, 1, the average person walks a total in their lifetime of around the world 5 times. Okay, that's pretty impressive. I wouldn't have guessed it. And the second trivia question was, out of all the planets in the solar system, they all spin the same way except one, and that's when I answered Uranus. So that's where Uranus came out of the blue, but it's actually Venus.
Huh. Yes.
Here's another
I've
one.
heard
For
that.
me, this is very fascinating. Do you know what a neutron star is? Well, a neutron star is when a giant star collapses and the core of the star compresses down, and it basically stays
Can you just
that way.
sign, Joe?
Huh?
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
The core of a star compresses down, ends up usually about the size of a
I'm
city,
going out so I can hear him.
and and that core that's left literally goes on forever, probably as long as the galaxy will last. We have these neutron stars floating around, but if you take 1 teaspoon of that matter from the core of a neutron star, it weighs 1 teaspoon 6 billion tons. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, neutron stars are one step above a black hole.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
If they
not science,
if they collapse into a black hole, that's according to theory, which probably pretty good theory.
and I got
Yeah.
one more. I got
Go
one.
ahead.
There are 8 times more atoms in a teaspoon of water than there is teaspoons of water in all the oceans in the world.
Wow.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
atoms are small. Atoms are very small.
Smaller than we can imagine. 8 times as many atoms in a teaspoon of water as there are the number of teaspoons of water in all the oceans in the world. And they've seen those suckers on a microscope. Have they seen an atom, or have they only detected the presence of an atom?
I've seen pictures of silicon atoms from electron microscope at IBM. I remember seeing a picture, and it's basically what you see is the electron cloud around them, and kind of usually they're in an array of a pattern because they're stuck together. But yeah, they're pretty small. It's hard to see an individual atom, that's for sure. But I'm not. That was years ago when I saw that picture, but it kind of amazed me that it was actually a picture of a silicon atom. But they are very, very, very small. Did you know if you had a hydrogen atom and the nucleus was the size of a softball, the electron, there's one electron that goes around a hydrogen atom. The electron, if the softball was in Chico, the electron would be in Durham, and it would be the size of a BB from like a BB gun.
Wow.
That's how much empty space is in a molecule. It's almost all empty space. 99.999% empty space. Another thing, if you had a glass of water that was 99.9999% pure, you would still have tens of thousands of molecules in that water that weren't water. That's how small they are. So it could be, it's all a relative kind of term. So whenever you drink a glass of water, you're drinking all kinds of different molecules, just all kinds.
And if you take all the DNA in our body and you stretch it out to where it's as thin as a molecule, it'll go from the sun to Pluto and back 17 times.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
That's crazy.
You kind of you fact checked me a little bit, didn't you?
Oh man, I like that interesting stuff. I don't understand it. I can't explain it, but it's there. It's true.
Do you know what, as far as science theory goes, what governs how all things behave? I mean, and I'm not talking anything living. I'm talking about how matter behaves. There's 4 things that govern it. You know what those might be?
Gravity would be one.
Gravity is absolutely one. There's 4 forces of nature. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any beyond gravity.
And a force is defined as just a push or a pull, and gravity is a pull, right? The other one would be electromagnetic. Like if you take a magnet, 2 magnets, and they'll either push or pull apart, right? So that's another one. The other 2 are they're a little more esoteric. They're what keeps the nuclear weak and strong force. That's what keeps atoms because a nucleus is a protons, which are all positive, and neutrons, which are neutral. So you have a bunch of positive things stuck together, which there has to be a force to fight that, right? Because positive things want to go away from each other. So there's nuclear forces that keep atoms, the nucleus, from falling apart. That's all. 4 forces of nature. That controls everything, by the way.
Interesting.
There's that dark matter. There's a dark matter that they're trying to figure out. But again, that's kind of theoretical.
That probably has to do with the unifying theory they're looking for.
Well, the reason I think dark matter is because according to the Big Bang, there was an explosion, however long ago, and then everything started spreading apart, and the universe expanded from whatever. But if you have an explosion, you would expect things to slow down after, over time, things slow down as they get farther apart. But in reality, it's expanding faster and faster instead of slowing down. So so they have to come up with a reason. Why isn't it slowing down? It's expanding slower over time instead of faster. And they came up with the dark energy.
The dark energy is allowing it to expand faster than the speed of light.
Well, instead of slowing down, it's speeding up, because things usually should slow down unless there's a force act, Newton's law. So, things only speed up or slow down or stop if there's a force acting on them. So in order for something to speed up, it has to have some kind of pushing force on it. So that's what they think dark matter is, because gravity is trying to pull everything back together, right? Because everything is, when you say everything in the universe is connected, it absolutely is by gravity.
Well, and it's connected because I like that theory that in the very beginning, at the Big Bang, matter was around the size of a pinhead. It was condensed. And within that little speck of matter, everything was one. There was nothing on one side of that little pinhead speck of matter. It was everywhere. There was only one thing. And then as it expanded, science wanted to know if everything stayed connected or if things separated. Because to our eyes, it appears things are separate. So that's why they did back in the 90s. They did a quantum experiment where they divided a photon light and separated it 14 miles apart. And they did something to interact with the light on one end. And when they did, the way it reacted, the other photon particle reacted exactly the same way. And they actually used atomic clocks to see if there was a difference in time between the two reactions. And they reacted exactly the same at exactly the same time. They stimulated one half of that photon particle, and the other half, 14 miles away, reacted exactly the same way to the exact same time, which is leading to the theory that everything in the known universe is connected.
Well, the absolute theory is connected by gravity. That's part of physics. But what you're saying is that's a huge leap, and we could talk about that if you want, to go from 2 photons being interconnected to everything being interconnected. That's a huge leap that I don't think any scientist.
I don't know that proves it, but it gives evidence to the theory.
Well, it gives evidence all kinds of things, but there's not and I could tell you real simply that would be easy to disprove.
How?
Okay, well, we'd have to get into it a little bit.
Well, you'll probably lose me if you get into it. But
well, in order for them to do that, the experiment, they had to measure something, right?
Well, first of all, tell me what you think an experiment like that does prove.
I don't know if it proves anything. I don't know. Well, it proves if it was correct, it proves that the 2 photons they were interconnected somehow. That's what that proves. But there was something measurable that they could measure each photon. Otherwise, you can't do it. You need something measurable to do that experiment. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, and you know what it was?
No.
It was the polarization of the photon. So what they did is they changed the polarization of one photon, and the other one statistically made the same change at the same time. But again, what I know about taking measurements, there could be, there could be a little error that would change that. So you need something measurable, correct, between those two photons. And they use, if it was an atom, they would use spin. If they're doing a photon, they use polarization, because that's something you can measure in a photon. So they saw them both instantaneous change, but there was they measured something. Otherwise, you can't do the experiment. Would you agree with that?
Right.
Okay, so if you want to take that stretch and say, well, people are connected, right? Because if everything in the universe, let's just go instead of that and say, are all people connected somehow? Would you think that is there an experiment that we could do to check if all people are connected?
Well, I think what it's saying is that everything is connected on a quantum level, and we
measurable.
We are connected. We are a part of the quantum soup.
Okay, how can you test that? How could we measure something between two people separated apart that they're connected? Is there something we could measure?
Well, I know they've done tests like that with plants, where they've taken plants like hundreds of miles apart and stimulated them and had another plant.
I would like to see that. I would like to see that data.
But this is something I read about years ago. So
yeah, I would be highly suspect of that, but you'd have to have a measurable quantity between two people or two things or two rocks or two anything. And you would have to say, okay, if we change one, will the other change instantaneously? It's not a hard experiment. In fact, you'd find that they're not connected in any way that you can measure.
Well, I think the connection comes, like I say, on a quantum level, and it's like, would you say there's a point where our body stops? Is there a straight, solid point where it's no longer my body and now it's space? Is there a cutoff point where I stop and everything else begins?
As far as matter goes, I would say yes. But again, you're outgassing molecules all the time. You're radiating heat. But you can say, well, everything's connected at a quantum level, but is that meaningful in any way? Me connecting to every other person in the world, how is that meaningful? How could that be measured?
I don't know how it could be measured. I don't think it's meaningful in 21st century life, but it may be the way that it may be meaningful one day when we want to do star traveling.
It might be. It might be. It might be. But the idea that two photons could be interconnected, it's a huge leap for you to then say everything's connected. We are connected by gravity. And Dennis is right. You need mass to have gravity. Gravity does work throughout outer space. That's why the moon goes around the Earth, is because they're attracted to each other by gravity. The four forces, someone asked those again. There's gravity, there's electromagnetism, there's the nuclear weak force, and the nuclear strong force. Those are the four forces, of the known four forces of nature. But yeah, that's kind of my pet peeve with the New Age stuff, because what they usually do, in my opinion, is they'll take old Eastern methods or philosophies or ideas, which are very good, and then they use a science word like singularity or energy or vibration, and then they completely hijack that word to make it bend into their religious kind of, and then it sounds, you mix Eastern philosophy with the quantum physics words. It's very impressive, but it's all what we call woo-woo. Doesn't mean a whole lot. When Deepak Chopra says we're all a singularity, have him define singularity. I mean, they just hijack words, and it's a little frustrating. But Anyways,
I agree with that. There's a lot of bullshit with New Age.
that's my take on. That's the real common thing is take a old Eastern philosophy idea and then add a quantum physics word to it, and it becomes, oh, okay, that's real mysterious, but it's kind of just jerking off, if you ask me.
You know, a New Age word pisses me off whenever I'm watching a video, and they will always use it, and it's the word modalities.
Yeah, just define that for me.
I am learned in several healing modalities. You son of a bitch. Modalities. If you're schooled in several modalities, you're special. You're very special, and you must know what you're talking about because you've learned these modalities.
No, yeah, that's just kind of common. That's a pattern that I see. But there's a lot of wisdom in old Eastern philosophy. There's a lot of wisdom
I was
out.
going to say you can't throw it out because
there's no way. Meditation is something that's amazing. There's all kinds of phenomenon out there that are very worthwhile to look into, but it doesn't usually. I don't know what it actually means, other than it's beneficial.
Yeah, I think people, there's different kinds of people, and it takes all kinds of people. I know that you like to see things that can be proven, to where I'm interested in things that I don't really care if they can be proven or not. And the fact that they're interesting and they're possible. So to me, they may not be provable and they may not even be true, but just the fact that these things exist, I find interesting. The very fact, the idea, the possibility exists is interesting. And because it's not provable, I'm not going to be one to say, bring me the science journal and then we'll talk about it. I don't care about the science journal. I don't care much about the proof. I just, if I like a concept and it's interesting, I'm probably going to look into it.
That's good. Yeah, I like dealing with things that are more practical and meaningful, I guess. I think Dennis wants to say something here. Dennis?
Just a little. I'll just throw in my little twist here. So, have you ever read much about Einstein? And he thought a lot about what you guys are talking about. He conceptualized it better than almost anybody, even today. He kind of had a handle or understanding of things way more than the average person, that's for sure. But I really liked one of Einstein's things that he did that I really liked, and there is some reading on it, where he would fall asleep in his rocking chair holding his stopwatch, and he tried to figure out exactly when it was when people went to sleep, when you went from a conscious state to what he called a conscious sleep state. And because he was really interested in dreams too. I don't think he ever got anywhere with it, but for years he tried to figure out when that exact moment was when you went from being conscious to being asleep. In the what that all meant, I don't know. But
I've done that. We've probably all done that with like I'll go to sleep at night usually watching cartoon on Family Guy or Bob's Burgers or whatever. And I've had times I've watched, and it may be a TV show, whatever, but I watch it and I fall asleep. And then the next day I'll purposely watch the same show.
Right when it happened.
Right up to the moment I can remember. And there'll be usually I can get it down to 10 seconds. I remember this. 10 seconds later, I have no memory of that.
Right.
And I know that's that little window. And I don't know why that's interesting to me, but I do.
It's a weird switch that happens that
yeah.
he was trying to figure out. What he was trying to figure out, because I had a friend in college that was really into this whole thing, and because he claimed he could go into a conscious sleep state. He would be asleep, but he could still control what he thought about. Now, he was a little bit of a far out there kind of guy, but he did do like
lucid dreaming.
23 units in 1 quarter in Chico State because he said he studied while he slept. Now, I've never taken it beyond that. I like to go to sleep. I sleep, sometimes have weird dreams, but I just found it interesting that Einstein was so into that little switch that happens, you know.
I think Einstein had a more of a mystical side than we're aware of.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I often wonder, why don't the aliens come down and enlighten us a little bit if they are here? We could really use some of their insight, I think. They have a lot of the answers to what you guys are asking. I bet.
Except it's not proven. So, you know.
I know. Okay.
The Bible will answer a lot of your questions too, but that's so.
I won't go any farther than that. I just wanted to throw.
Well, I can real quickly give you the most popular theory on why, if they're watching us, why they're not intermingling. The same reason we'll watch certain tribes in South America or New Guinea, and we'll observe them, but we do not interfere. We do not give them the wheel or anything. We just observe them, because if we go in there and upset their way of life, we screw everything up.
So are we just an alien experiment, for Christ's sake? Jesus.
Well, that could be too. Of course.
All right.
Well,
enough.
Dennis, going back to what you said about Einstein, actually, there's a name for it in Eastern philosophy. It's called the sacred silence. There's a point between when you're conscious and then you go to a dream state. It's called the sacred silence. And I think everybody experiences that little state of mind before you fall asleep. There's an intermediate phase between when you're awake and then you fall asleep. Actually, there's a bunch of phases, but that's called the sacred silence.
Well, something about our minds, we all share that. I mean, we all experience it and go through it. And
you would think so.
Yeah.
I always assumed dreams to be the playground of the subconscious, and if we did not dream, we would be really mentally screwed up. That our subconscious has to have a way to play out our fears, our fantasies, all the things we hold inside and cannot express. We have our dream world to play that out in.
Have you ever had a dream one night, remembering it a little bit, and the next night you go to bed and you fall back into that same dream? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a weird one when that happens. It's like, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird, like, I was talking to Uncle Dan one day, we were talking about dreams, and I was saying that one of the common dreams I have is I'll have a car and I'll park it somewhere, and when I come back, it's always gone. And it's usually an old, like a 40s or 50s classic automobile, and I'm always losing them. And Danny says he's always had that same dream. And I'll have that dream maybe twice a week. It can be a motorcycle, a car, but if I get out of it and leave it, it's not there when I go back. Every time, for years. And Uncle Dan has that same experience. So I don't know, there's some symbolism there that I haven't picked up on yet, but it's interesting.
One of the worst times I ever had was right after the fire for a month, probably a month and a half. I never dreamed. I don't know if it was because I was so emotionally shocked because of what I went through or what, but there was a time there, it was very depressing that I just never woke up having a dream, and now I'm back to having dreams again. It feels good, but that was kind of a scary moment I went through. I knew something was wrong because I've never had a dream for the longest time after the fire. It affected me a little bit.
And it may be that you dream all the time. It's just you don't remember most of it. So maybe for that period, you just weren't remembering what you were dreaming.
That's enough. That's enough of my silliness here. Okay.
I like your shirt though, by the way.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like that.
I'm putting it out there today. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Very
See you guys.
good.
I'll be watching.
And one more thing I would say about dreams that I find interesting is they say your dreams only last a few seconds, that we do all our dreaming in a minute or so. And I disagree, because when you get woken up sharply in the middle of the night, the phone rings, somebody knocks on your door. When that happens, you're right in the middle of a dream, and it pulls you right out of it. And if we're only dreaming for a minute or two right before we wake up, that's popular theory, then why am I in a dream every time I get woken up from a sleep, no matter what time of the night it is? If somebody wakes me, they're pulling me right out of the dream. So my theory is we dream all the time. And so
I think the people who do sleep, your brain waves change while you're dreaming, and that's measurable. So they can measure your alpha waves, your beta waves, and there's REM sleep. There's different stages of sleep. There's deep sleep, and those are all brainwave measurables. So I think when they're looking at that, they're looking at that data, and when you're hooked up to those sucker things all over your head, or where they're monitoring your brain waves, they maybe not. Maybe it doesn't correlate, but that's where they get the idea. Because they see that your brain waves change for certain amounts of time. So, that's where there's evidence of where they would come up with numbers like that. There's a lot of sleep research out there, but you can actually watch your brain waves change, and depending on what state of dreams you're doing. And you get paralyzed too. Your body paralyzes when you're dreaming. You're paralyzed in a lot of dream states, because otherwise you'd be flailing around and hurt yourself. But you're actually paralyzed.
Yeah, there's something in your brain that shuts down your motor system about 90%.
And then dreams are experiences. Dreams are very strong, sometimes very, very strong experiences that you experience, and you remember them vividly. And those are definitely experiences. I'm wondering,
like I should go so Sis and Jen can come back on.
here's my mom here for we got about 2.5 minutes. We got about 2 minutes to go, and we'll see.
I'm going to go in case someone else wants on. So
okay, we're going to wrap it up anyway. Thanks for coming on, Joe.
I just wanted to say something real quickly and wondered if this happens to other people. I can have one dream if I'm laying on one side, and I'll turn my head and have another dream and go back and forth into those same dreams. I got two dreams going on at one time. I wonder what that means. Doesn't happen all the time, but it happens. That's all. I got to go fix dinner. Bye.
Okay, well, maybe we'll wrap it up. Yeah, I think you're right. I think sometimes you probably do meet some people sleepwalk while they're dreaming. So maybe that maybe the paralyzation thing is it's not universal, but I know you do. There are times when your body does get paralyzed while you're dreaming. Maybe it's not the same for everybody. But anyways, hey, we've gone about 60 minutes. So what do you say we just wrap this bad boy up, unless I drop the link if someone wants to come on and say something in the next minute or two. I'm open to that. Otherwise, we'll just wrap this bad boy up. And I see Becky. Hey, Becky Shaw. Hope things are going well. And Donnie's out there. My mom was out there. Thanks for tuning in. Another day. Got 12 people watch. I think a few more people come in every day. I don't know. But think of some topics for us. Usually kind of just wanders wherever it wanders to. And I usually have I'll always give my 2 cents. And again, I give opinions. They're just my opinions, and that's what I give. But anyways, let's wrap this up. Good day. You missed the whole. Well, you can always rewind this, Becky, if you have some extra time. That's why I think it's good to only go an hour. So we've gone an hour. Enjoy the rest of your day. get a good night's sleep. I think that's real important. And I imagine I'll be back here tomorrow. I imagine I'll be back here tomorrow. Take care. Peace, love, tranquility.